So, welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Monday, December 7th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMete. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A Florida judge has ordered the extradition of a former tribal secretary official turned preacher and accused of killing a Cabazon tribal leader and two friends in Southern California in 1981. James Hughes was arrested in September in Miami, Florida, as he sat on a Honduras-bound plane. He appeared at his extradition hearing last week via closed-circuit television from a Miami-Dade County jail. Hughes did not speak during the hearing. His attorney said he was not fighting the extradition. Assistant State Attorney Barbara Pinerio says Hughes will be sent back to California within 30 days. Hughes faces 3 counts of murder and a count of conspiracy for allegedly killing Fred Alvarez to prevent him from exposing illegal activities. A funeral has been held for Mitch DeMete, the former Tanana Chiefs Conference leader who passed away at age 57 last week. DeMete was laid to rest this last Saturday in Nenana Native Cemetery of Alaska, across the frozen Tanana River from the small town where he grew up and where he also passed away. Earlier in the day, his coffin, handmade by community members, was centered in the Nenana Tribal Hall for an interdenominational funeral service presided over by a Catholic and an Episcopal priest. DeMete in 1973 became the youngest president of the Tanana Chiefs Conference and later served a second term. When Ira Hayes was alive, his image was captured in one of the most famous battle photographs ever taken, the World War II picture of U.S. Marines raising the flag over Iwo Jima. Now, more than a half century later, it turns out that Hayes' images was also captured in death, secretly cast in plaster while he lay in a Phoenix funeral home awaiting burial. The heroic and tragic story of Hayes, Pima who was made famous in books, Hollywood films, and popular music. The death mask, only recently discovered by the Hayes family, adds one more chapter to the historic odyssey, a postscript with its own controversy and cultural questions. This month, Kenneth Hayes, 78, received his brother's final impression as a donation from the Gilbert Ortega Museum Gallery in Scottsdale, Arizona, where the mask had been on display for years unbeknownst to the relatives. Family members laid the object to rest last week in the Gila River Reservation where Hayes was born and where he passed away. The surviving relatives say the burial allows Hayes' spirit to go free into the next world. Amid the final battles of World War II, Corporal Ira Hamilton Hayes and 5 other Marines were frozen in time by the Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal as they raised the Stars and Stripes at Iwo Jima. Nebraska lawmakers plan to hold another hearing on alcohol-related problems around White Clay, Nebraska, where 4 stores sell about 4 million cans of beer annually. Most of the beer sold in the town of 14 People goes to residents of the Pine Ridge Reservation just across the border in South Dakota. Liquor is banned on the reservation, but it's within walking distance of White Clay and has which has one of the country's highest alcoholism-related mortality rates there at Pine Ridge. Lawmakers will gather in Lincoln, Nebraska on December 11th at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to hear about White Clay, and people will be able to testify from Northwest Nebraska via video link at the Chadron State College. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has withdrawn a water discharge permit for a controversial coal mining operation in northern Arizona pending public hearings. The EPA's decision on the permit for Peabody Energy's Black Mesa Mine Complex comes after an appeal by environmentalists who contend the discharge of heavy metal and pollutants threatens water sources for the nearby Navajo and Hopi communities who depend on it for drinking, farming, and ranching. Dave Smith, water permits manager in the EPA's San Francisco office, said last week that the agency believes the permit is solid but wanted to provide an opportunity for further public comment. Peabody spokesman Beth Sutton called the environmentalist claims frivolous and said the company has a record of compliance with the Clean Water Act. A federal appeals court on December 3rd temporarily blocked construction of a massive gold mine project in northeast Nevada that critics says would harm the environment and ruin a mountain that several tribes consider sacred. In a rare legal setback for the mining industry in the nation's largest gold-producing state, a three-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals granted an injunction to force Barak Gold Corporation to postpone digging a 2,000-foot deep open pit mine in the Cortez Hills mine. In reversing an earlier ruling, the judges in San Francisco said the U.S. Bureau of Land Management failed to adequately analyze the mine's potential to pollute the air with mercury emissions and dry up scarce water resources in Nevada's high desert. The appellate judges concluded BLM's review was inadequate under the National Environmental Policy Act, which requires a thorough examination of large-scale projects on federal land. The ruling sends the case back to federal court in Reno, Nevada, until the BLM revises its environmental impact statements. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for coming and watching us. Come join us again soon. Miigwech.